Hello everyone, welcome back to American Roots Kitchen. Today we're going to go out west with a dish that was created out of necessity. Back in the mid-1860s, the Navajo tribe was removed from their homelands and moved to a reservation about a 400-mile walk. Now upon arriving at the reservation, they were passed out flour, salt, and lard. They created this dish. Today we're going to make this Navajo or Indian fry bread. Okay, let's get started. Let's go through our ingredients. We have 4 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 4 tablespoons of baking powder, 6 tablespoons of oil. We have about 3 cups of water. Add our flour. We're going to add our salt and our baking powder. Now after you add that, take your hands, make sure you mix all that in there. If we do that, we're going to make a little hole in the middle, and we're going to pour a little bit of our water in. Not a lot. Then we're going to pour in our 6 tablespoons of oil. And we're going to start slowly mixing that around. Your water needs to be warm. Almost hot even. I'm going to add some more water. You don't want to add too much at a time because you don't want to overdo it. It is a sticky dough. You're just going to make this to where it starts coming away from the sides. And we're going to add a little bit more water. Not too much. You don't want to knead too much because you don't want to form too much gluten. It makes it tough. See how it's starting to come together on the sides. You get both hands in here and get it mixed up a little bit. Give it a flip. Okay, for this next step, we're moving back over to the table. We're going to place a wet towel on our table beneath our cutting board to keep it from sliding around. Next step, we are going to flour our cutting board so nothing sticks. We're going to turn out our dough onto our cutting board, and we're going to knead that until we get a nice soft dough. And it's not going to take long because remember, we don't want to knead this to death. We just want enough to get it smooth and mix all the ingredients together. And there's our dough. I put a little flour in our bowl. Now we'll put our dough back in there, and we're going to cover that and let that set in a warm place for 20 minutes. We're going to brown a little hamburger. We'll spray our pan with a little oil. So now our hamburger, see it's starting to get brown a little bit. Okay, so I have some Southwest Zest beans from Bush, and I have some jalapeno bacon beans. Now, don't be afraid of this because it's hot at all. It has a great flavor. Now we're going to mix those in, and you say, what? Great flavors. We'll let that simmer, and now it's time for our bread. Okay, so now we got our toppings on the simmer. We have our dough, And we're going to turn that out onto our floured sheet. Kind of give it a little stretch into a little log here. And then we're going to give it a little cut, make ourselves some dough balls. So we got 12 dough balls out of that, which is, you're going to get about 12 to 16. Now we're going to take a little pinch of flour, test our oil out. That looks good. I'm using corn oil, but you can use whatever oil you would like. Let's drop our first one in here. Be careful. Now you'll probably want a fork handy. Poke you some holes in there to get rid of them bubbles that form. I want to give it a little turn so it cooks evenly. Now believe me, these do not take long. And we're going to give this one a little look. It looks good. We're going to give it a little flip. Just to a slight golden brown color. You don't want them too crispy, but you don't want them doughy either. So my oil is about 325 to 350. So I have a pan with a rack in it. Now, before this section was supposed to be me taking a rolling pin and rolling this out, but my battery died and didn't realize it until I got to this step. Just roll them thin. Folks, what are we going to do now? We're going to top one of these little rascals. To do that, we'll put our fry bread in, give our beans and hamburger a little stir. All right, let's top this thing. We have our fry bread with our beans and our burger. Let's throw a little lettuce on there. And what do we have here? Some good old salsa. Now, whatever your favorite salsa is, you can use. I'm just using a fresh salsa. After that, I'm gonna top it with some good old pico. Okay, now we have some sour cream on there. Our next step is throw your little guacamole out there. All right, and what's next after we got our guacamole and sour cream on is some good old cheese. There you have it, folks. A treat for you. We're going to make a dessert one of these. We're going to take some whipped cream. We're going to spread that around there. Now, on top of that, we're going to take some strawberry topping and drizzle that across there. And on top of that, we'll take a little bit of ricotta cheese. Then we're going to add a few toasted sliced almonds. And then what kind of dessert would you have without whipped cream? To top it off. There you go.